everybody, my name is Aliah. Welcome back to 4AR People's YouTube channel. Thank you so much for continuously tuning in every week or so. I know we take breaks sometimes, but don't we all need them? No, I'm just kidding. But thank you for tuning in. Today's video is going to be a little not so happy, not that they usually are, but this one's going to be not so happy because we were talking about how Arkansas is one of the least safe for the LGBTQ plus community. So a little context, a couple days ago, we posted for Pride Month a graphic about the NewsWeek article that lists the least safe states to be a member of the LGBTQ plus community, and Arkansas was number 1. And this was not surprising to us at 4AR People, but it was shocking to a lot of people who saw the graphic on our TikTok, on our Instagram. And so I wanted to make this full video to talk a little bit about how that is the case. As we just wrapped up legislative session, we saw a lot of very targeted bills there, but it's also been a consistent thing throughout the year. So I want to talk about it. So stay tuned for this video if you're also confused on how Arkansas is the least safe for the LGBTQ plus community, or if you just want to watch. So stay tuned. Let's check it out. All right. So first, I feel like a lot of the comments under our graphic were talking a lot about physical safety, which is not completely irrelevant, but it is not the only thing that makes Arkansas the least safe. But I do want to talk about physical safety here for a moment because Arkansas does not currently have a hate crime law on the books that explicitly encompasses sexual orientation or gender identity. The closest thing we have was signed in 2021 by Governor Hutchinson, but even then, a lot of people were talking about how it did not actually protect people. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. So it was Senate Bill 622, which is an act delaying release from prison for certain offenders until the offender has served at least 80% of his or her sentence, creating penalties for false reporting to law enforcement, creating a registry, and for other purposes. So it basically says a person who commits a serious felony involving violence is subjected to delayed release if the state proves beyond a reasonable doubt that the person committed a serious felony involving violence under an aggravating circumstance. And it defines aggravating circumstance as a defendant purposefully selected the victim because the victim was a member of or was associated with a recognizable and identifiable group or class who share mental, physical, biological, cultural, political, or religious beliefs or characteristics. So notice how that doesn't explicitly name any protected class or anything, and it also does not encompass sexual orientation or gender identity in some sort of forms of that definition, right? It's not very specific enough to include certain people, and that was one of the main problems with it when it got signed into law. It also defines purposefully selected the victim. So it says purposefully selected the victim does not mean that a defendant's mere abstract belief or expression was hostile or contrary to the victim's being a member of or was associated with a recognizable and identifiable group or class who share mental, physical, biological, cultural, political, or religious beliefs or characteristics. And then the serious felony is regarding murder in the first degree, murder in the second degree, battery in the first degree, aggravated assault, terroristic threatening, terroristic act, arson, unlawful discharge of a firearm from a vehicle, and things like that. So the reason this bill doesn't go far enough is because it doesn't explicitly protect members of certain classes. So like it doesn't say anything about sexual orientation, anything about gender identity. So it does not protect trans people, and it does not protect queer people or multiple members of the LGBTQ plus community. And that goes to physical safety, and that's just something I wanted to mention. The graphic that we posted was not explicitly about physical safety, but that is something to think about. I know a lot of the comments were like, I'm not seeing this. I haven't seen a hate crime in the state of Arkansas. I haven't done this. It's like, right. We don't protect against those things. So I'm sure you're not gonna see it as it comes up because it's not like it's recorded or anything. And so there's that. And yeah, let's move on to other things that kind of make the LGBTQ community unsafe in the state of Arkansas. All right. So another thing I wanted to talk about was the things and laws and policies that are in place or have been put in place recently that kind of target same-sex couples and target trans individuals. And the thing about these is that sure, it's not physical harm, but it does make being LGBTQ plus harder in the state of Arkansas, and unsafe to kind of be who you are. And that is something that I feel like we haven't talked about enough as it relates to safety. I feel like those things are just as those things are important too when it comes to being safe, being a safe member of a certain community, right? And so let's talk about that. All right, so if you've been following us for a while, especially during legislative session, you might have heard me speak about House Bill 1615, which is actually now Act 677. So it got signed into law, and it was an act to amend the law concerning religious non-discrimination and for other purposes. And that doesn't sound bad. They never do. They never sound bad in the actual title, unless they do, and then in that instance, we're really on that. But this one doesn't sound bad, but I'm going to tell you exactly what it does. So it prohibits the government from discriminating against certain individuals and organizations because of their beliefs regarding marriage or what it means to be female or male, and ensure that individuals and organizations cannot be compelled either by the government or through a lawsuit initiated by a private party to engage in conduct that conflicts with their beliefs or be punished or discriminated against for declining to engage in conduct that conflicts with their beliefs. So that all was a mouthful. Basically what it does is it doesn't allow for the government to discriminate against any organization or individual that has a certain belief of marriage or what it means to be female or male, and they cannot be compelled to act in certain ways that go against those beliefs, right? And in the bill itself, it actually names a couple or like a bunch of examples as to what this would look like. So here are those examples. So it says the state government shall not take any discriminatory action against a religious organization or person wholly or partially on the basis that the religious organization or person, and then it lists a bunch of examples: photography, poetry, videography, disc jockey services, wedding planning, printing, web design, graphic design, publishing, counseling, or similar marriage-related goods or services, floral arrangements, dressmaking, cake or pastry artistry, assembly hall or other wedding venue rentals, car or other vehicle service rentals, jewelry sales and services, or other similar marriage-related services, accommodations, facilities, or goods. Maintain separate dress codes, restrooms, spas, baths, showers, dressing rooms, locker rooms, or other intimate facilities or settings based on biological sex. It also says a person employed or acting on behalf of the state government who has authority to authorize or license marriages, including without limitation, clerks, registers of deeds, or their deputies may seek recusal from authorizing or licensing lawful marriages based upon or in a manner consistent with a belief about biological sex or marriage. So, as you all know out there, gay marriage, same-sex marriage is federally legal. It is a fundamental right protected by the United States Constitution currently. And because of that, the Arkansas legislature cannot outlaw same-sex marriage. But what they can do is pass laws like this that make getting married, that makes it harder for same-sex marriage or same-sex couples to get married, right? And that is harm. That is unsafe. That is not safe to be a married couple that is not safe to be a same-sex couple in the state of Arkansas. There also have been very similar laws just like this regarding foster care, adoption, right? So these are laws and these are rights associated with marriage or having a family or family planning, right? These are laws associated with that is completely legal for anyone to do. It's legal for any consenting adults to do. It's legal to get married to any other consenting adult that you want. It's legal to start a family with any other consenting adult you want. Those are legal, but it's laws like this that make it hard because it makes it hard to have a wedding. It makes it hard to get a marriage license. It makes it hard to like legitimize your marriage, right? And so that is another thing that is targeting same-sex couples and trans individuals. So that's what I'm talking about. That's what we're talking about when we're saying it's unsafe. So let's move on to something else. Let's talk about other things. All right. So let's talk about laws attempting to restrict the transitioning of trans individuals. So back in 2021, Arkansas passed the Save Adolescents from Experimentation, the SAFE Act, which actually got struck down by a federal judge, but it's actually still in court deciding whether it can be applied. And this is a ban, basically a ban on gender affirming care for trans individuals. It's restrictions on public funding. And it's specifically targeted towards trans minors, and it is not cool. It's not cool. And that is another thing that makes being trans specifically unsafe for the state of Arkansas. Not having the same access to healthcare, not having access to gender affirming care, gender affirming services. And that is not cool and not safe. Also, that's just important to think about because transgender individuals are actually at a higher rate of suicide than non-transgender individuals. And a lot of that has to do with the marginalization of transgender people and also the kind of stigma around being transgender, especially in the state of Arkansas. And so it's important that we support everybody. We support everybody in the LGBTQ plus community because that support can mean the world to someone. And that's something we need to be thinking about. All right, you guys, that's all for today's video. I hope you learned something. I hope I cleared some things up for you all. Thank you so much for watching. It's been real. Let's call on our legislators this Pride Month to create a state that is safe for everyone and all people. And let's be better. Let's just be better. Check out all of our other platforms. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We are on Facebook. We're on Blue Sky. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Those buttons are there somewhere. It's been so real. And stay tuned for next week. We will have another video. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.